Then he pulled his gun out. He pulled his gun out as he drove past one of the protesters and he said, "Bang, bang." He literally spoke the words, "bang, bang." And then a little bit later, he said, "You're dead, liberal." But listen, before we even get into that, because there's a lot to break down there, this is not a solitary incident. I want you to understand that. In D.C., a Homeland Security investigator just shot a man. Shot him with his gun and then covered it up because the man lived. The man got put in jail for 3 days, spent 3 days in jail, and he's currently fighting charges that are absolute bullshit. But the point is that the Homeland Security investigator covered it up. Now, these are just a couple recent incidences. These are new. But this phenomenon that we're seeing isn't new. We've been continuously seeing week in and week out ICE agents and federal agents acting with absolute impunity to any consequences. They've been throwing peaceful protesters to the ground. They've been shooting protesters with pepper bullets. We have ICE agents in military uniform with police tape on them, and they are neither military trained nor police trained. They wear masks. They don't identify themselves. They grab people out of school pickup lines. They grab people out of courthouses. They grab people out of workplaces, and they do it with no oversight. If someone were to dress up in a military uniform with police tape right now and walk out and snatch somebody up, you wouldn't know if it's just a sociopath or is it a federal agent. Listen, I spent 13 years as an Army intelligence collector, and my job was to take pieces of the puzzle and put it all together so I could see the big picture and save American lives. Well, I'm going to take the pieces of this puzzle and put it all together for you today in hopes that we can save America. So let's take a deeper dive behind this, and let's take a peek behind the curtain. But first, please like and comment on the video, good or bad, I don't care. But if my insight gives you any new perspective on things that you didn't have before, hit the subscribe button. Thanks. You may not recognize this photo. It was taken by CNN photographer Mustafa Hussein. This is Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovino. His name's floating around social media the last couple of days. And normally he's dressed like this. Now, let's talk about what he did. There's a group of Chicagoan local citizens protesting the presence of Border Patrol, ICE, and other federal agents in Chicago, which is their protected First Amendment right to do so. In fact, the city permitted them to do so, told them they were okay, that they were allowed to protest. So they did. They went out and they protested. There was one particular protester by the name of Chris Gentry, who's not just any protester, he's a combat veteran. This man served his country and defended his right to have free speech. That makes this even more ironic, even more appalling. Now, don't get me wrong. Every American deserves the right to free speech. Every American has the right to free speech. You don't have to defend it in armed conflict and put your life on the line just to deserve it. But you can't deny the irony of a combat veteran who did defend it in armed conflict and did put his life on the line, being the exact target of Greg Bovino's disgusting display of hyper-partisan far-right domestic terrorism. Because fuck calling this guy a federal agent. Fuck calling this guy someone who flashed his weapon while on duty. Nah, that's whitewashed language. I'm going to call him what he is. He's a domestic terrorist who committed an act of terrorism while being paid by the American taxpayers. He drove by the protest, the legal, permitted, protected protest, and he flashed his gun out the window at Chris Gentry, a combat veteran who defended in armed conflict his right to have free speech. And he said, "Bang, bang, you're dead, liberal." And please pay close attention to the word liberal. If you don't think that the things that Donald Trump, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Kristi Noem, Pete Hegseth, and all of them are doing with their individual branches and departments, if you don't think that what they're doing is aimed at weeding out liberal or left-leaning employees, then you are not paying attention. Just like when Pete Hegseth had his embarrassing war room, I want to be General Patton speech, that was designed to make good leaders quit. It's more of an indirect, passive, hey, why don't you quit? And how do I know that it's working because as of late, we're seeing more and more federal agents acting in partisan ways. This isn't the first incident that we've heard someone call their detractor a liberal. We just recently had the Department of Homeland Security directly blame political violence on Democrats. This ain't even the first time ICE has acted above the law. So we're seeing the result of this almost de facto purge of federal agencies and the military. Donald Trump was just in Japan, awkwardly dancing, completely rambling in front of troops, and you saw a lot of them cheering for him and laughing at his partisan jokes. That's because the military is literally picking soldiers based on their party preference to attend these rallies. This is designed to ostracize those who are not down with the far-right ideology. Now, let's take this other instance I mentioned earlier. The federal agents in D.C. shooting a man with their gun, leaving it out of their police report, because that's what they did, by the way. They shot him. He lived. They put him in jail for 3 days. The charges against him are already starting to be dropped because they're bullshit. A judge has already dropped one of them. His lawyers are saying that the agents were covering up this shooting because they were. And he's saying that because the agents didn't mention the shooting in their police reports. And his lawyers are right, because this is the common modus operandi of the cops, by the way. I want to use this incident to highlight something real briefly. This kind of shit has been going on forever. Cops have been setting people up, shooting people, framing people, lying in their police report, and covering it up for decades. You know how I know? Because the black and brown community has told us time and time and time again, and we refuse to fucking listen. But I digress. The point is, we've allowed police to get away with this for so long that we've grown accustomed to it. So Donald Trump sending out his federal agents, his federal takeover, which is basically ICE agents, which is his private army scattered across the country, being given immunity to do things that we've already unfortunately grown accustomed to. They've been given immunity to bully people, to abuse people, to use excessive force, to overstep their bounds, to not be transparent. They've been given immunity to do that. And the administration's looking at us like, why are you mad? Police have been doing this forever. If this was a moral country, a civil country, a moral society, the police shooting a man and leaving it out of his report and covering it up would be headline news. But in America, it wouldn't even get somebody to turn their head. If we were a moral civil society, the president threatening to attack his political opponents with his own Justice Department while his own cabinet sits around praising him for his leadership would be headline news. But in America, you're not even interested. You're not even interested in talking about it because we've become so used to it. So the real message behind this entire video is twofold. Donald Trump is acting without impunity, circumventing federal judges, and doing these federal takeovers of cities across America for the main purposes of, one, so that you'll get accustomed to people violating your constitutional rights and nobody doing anything about it, and two, for practice when he decides to guard the polls in 2026. But that's a video that I'll put out in the future. And the other takeaway I want you to have from this video today is that these agents are becoming emboldened. Your constitutional rights are becoming more and more obsolete. We are quickly, rapidly sliding into a society where masked men with questionable and even minimal qualifications can arrest you regardless of your citizenship or legal resident status, and arrest you regardless of any crimes you have or have not committed, and arrest you just for exercising your First Amendment rights. You can spend days in prison, you can get shot and nothing will happen, because they're given more and more immunity with no consequences and more empowerment. The ultimate agenda is to literally have a military takeover of this country. I want to remind you what I said a minute ago. ICE is Trump's private military. You need to be paying attention to all these things that have happened, because what happens is you hear so many of these incidences that you become numb to it. But that's what they want. They want to normalize it. They want you to be numb to it. They want to move the Overton window. And they want you to sit at home and do nothing about it as it gets worse and worse and worse. Well, fuck that. I'm not sitting. I'm standing. And I'm going to do something about it. And if I'm the only one doing something about it, then goddamn it, I'll be the only one. If I got to die on this hill alone, I'll die on this goddamn hill alone. But I don't think I will. Because we've seen 5, 7, 8 million people hit the streets for No Kings and other protests. We've seen hundreds of thousands of people fill cities. I know that there's more of us than there is of them. 2/3 of this country didn't vote for him. But I need everybody, every single person who didn't vote for him, every single person who's not drinking the Kool-Aid to understand this. Fascism isn't coming. Fascism isn't on the way. Fascism has arrived. Fascism has kicked its shoes off. Fascism has settled into the comfortable recliner in the White House, and fascism is holding the pen. It's up to us to not let them write our fucking future. We cannot be the fucking paper. So let's just end this simply. Say something, do something, get outside.